Hello and welcome to It's Your Business with Mario Toneguzzi on Megapix Media. Joining me today is Laura Hambley, who is Dr. Laura Hambley, who is a workplace psychologist, speaker, and author in Calgary, and works through Work Evolution and Calgary Career Counseling. Thanks for joining us today, Laura.
My pleasure.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about COVID and mental health. First of all, Laura, from what you're seeing out there, what's the sense that you get on the mental health of people these days because of the pandemic?
Well, certainly it's concerning. I would be dishonest if I didn't say that there's some major concerns. And I think January is a tough month in general for mental health. And then you add on top of that a continually uncertain economy and a global pandemic and a lot of political unrest, especially in our neighbors to the south. You just get a lot of fear and concern. And I think people are struggling with being in these continued restrictions as well. And mental health is more of a concern than ever. And we need to try to stay one step ahead of it as a society.
Now, when we talk about mental health and stuff like this, what kind of things are we talking about in terms of the impact it's having on people?
Well, I think we got to think of mental health as a continuum. It's not just all of a sudden someone's mentally unhealthy. It's a continuum that we're all on, right? So it ranges from being healthy all the way to being mentally ill. And I think if we can think of all of ourselves being on this continuum, and what things do we need to do to keep on the healthy side? Because the healthy side gradually can erode and work its way towards being unhealthy, and you may not even be aware of it happening. So you've got to be really aware of the early warning signs.
Which are what?
Early warning signs are changes in your general mood. So going from being maybe a motivated or generally enthusiastic person to being cynical, skeptical, impatient. So impatience is another sign, not really looking forward to anything, being angry or feeling angry at others around you, overreactive, and then sleep habits. So if you have trouble falling asleep, if you're waking up in the night and having trouble going back down to sleep, those are other habits. Changes in energy levels, starting to feel lethargic, tired, where you used to be a higher energy person can be one of those warning signs as well.
Now, do you think a lot of these mental health issues are simply because this has taken so long? Like we're going to come up to about a year, right, soon for people to being under this same kind of environment. Is it the length of time that this is taking?
Yeah, I definitely think the longer it goes on, people start to wonder where the light is at the end of the tunnel. So it becomes more of a marathon than a sprint. And with a marathon, we all know that you need to stay on top of your health to get through a marathon. And same with something like this. It's the little things you do every day and on a weekly basis that'll make a huge difference here.
Yeah. Any tips that you can give people on how to cope with stress and other mental health issues that you may be facing right now because of all this?
Well, that's a big question. There's a lot of different things that we can do, but I'm going to make it easy and simple. There's the physical things that you can do, and one of the biggest is getting fresh air every day. And even though we live in a colder climate, there's no excuse not to get a 10-minute fresh air. Even on the coldest day, we can do that.
Yeah.
Going into nature, going into getting some sunshine, all of that makes a huge difference. So, and the physical, like whatever you can do at home, online workout videos, yoga, etc. That's critical. So physical, then there's a connection with other human beings. There's still a huge need in this city for volunteers, and some of it we can do remotely or by dropping things off to people and not having the physical contact. There's no better way to stay ahead of your health and happiness than to help other people in need. So giving back, having coffee, virtual coffee with people, keeping connected, reaching out to people you know who are isolated, that's huge. So connection is the second thing. So physical health, connection, and then mindfulness, meditation, journaling, those sort of inwardly focused, present moments, being aware of who you are and your meaning and purpose. That's really, really important. And then obviously talking to professionals. So you mentioned Calgary Career Counseling. So we help a lot of people through careers and finding meaning in their careers, but we also have synthesis psychology, SYNTHESIS, and that's a personal counseling practice where the team here in Kensington has been seeing a lot of people and talking to a professional psychologist or other helping professional. It's really, really important when you start to slip and start to feel more negative and cynical and like this is never going to end and I feel hopeless and those sorts of feelings.
Okay, a couple of questions, Laura, on the business side of things. Obviously, a lot of people are, with the mental health issues. It really impacts productivity, doesn't it, in terms of your work in the workplace and for companies. Can you talk a little bit about the connection between productivity and mental health?
Absolutely. It's an inverse relationship, right? So we know that when you're suffering from mental illness, right, or you're on that continuum of starting to not be well mentally, you're not as focused, you're not as productive, you're not as great to work with because you might be really impatient, unreliable, your attendance is spotty. All of those things start to happen. So we all need to be on the lookout, and we do a lot of work coaching leaders, working and training leaders to be on the lookout for the early warning signs, so that they can be aware and to check in with people on how you're doing. How are you doing, Mario? Like, oftentimes it's all about business, all about work, but how are you doing as a person going through this pandemic, as a husband, a father, a neighbor, whatever it is that you are, Mario? How are you coping with all of this? We need to have lots of those conversations at work as well.
Okay, well, and what about business owners? We have, so many, small business owners in Canada, kind of the backbone of the economy in many ways. Yet, man, since March, they've been, on a roller coaster trying to cope with everything. What's your message to them and how to deal with this? Because, their livelihoods are at stake. They've got jobs for people, so they're thinking of people as well, etc.
This too shall pass, right? This too shall pass. Reminding yourself of that, and it's tough, and I'm a business owner as well, but I'm lucky that I haven't been hit as hard as some, like in Kensington, where our office is located. I'm just looking out my window here. It's just really disheartening to see what's going on. And I always say, you can't control the world. You can't control a pandemic more broadly, but what you can control is how you treat other people in your business, how you treat yourself. Okay, so being kind to yourself, taking it 1 week at a time, being, caring and careful for yourself and your own health, because, we may end up having business struggles, but to have business struggles and then to have mental health struggles on top of it, and then it just compounds. And we want to try to stay, again, one step ahead of our mental well-being.
Yeah. Okay. Super then. Well, thanks very much for joining us today, Laura.
No problem. One more thing, just to remind or to bring up, I like this term, is that there's an echo pandemic going on. So the echo pandemic is a mental health pandemic, and that's why we need to really understand that there's the physical health concerns, there's also the mental health. And I'm so glad that you brought up this conversation, Mario. It is super important these days.
Okay, super. Thanks again for joining us. That was Dr. Laura Hambley, who is a workplace psychologist, speaker, and author, and is with EvOHlution and Calgary Career Counseling. This has been It's Your Business with Mario Toneguzzi on Megapix Media. Thanks for joining us today.